A similar letter to Exhibit AAA was dispatched to my colleague, Advocate Mshololo. We didn't number the pages, my lord, but the third page is Exhibit AA in brackets 2. It's an email from Advocate Malisela Daniel Tefo, dated 27 February 2022. It was sent at 23 hours and 6 minutes, addressed to myself, but the last addressee there, which I highlighted, is Advocate Zandile Mshololo, and the subject is application for disclosure, First Lotus CAS 636 of 10 of 2014 and 375/1/2019, and the message reads, please find here with attached email for your attention. Kind regards, Advocate Tefo. And when we go to the subject matter of the email, the fourth page from the email receipt. And the heading reads as follows. The State versus Kelly Kumalo and 6 others, First Lotus CAS 3751 of 2019, offenses defeating the ends of justice and murder. We refer in particular to paragraph 3, wherein Advocate Tefo says, we are aware of the fact that First Lotus CAS 375 of 1 of 2019 is not known by the people of South Africa and the international communities. The reason it is hidden is due to the fact that the suspect under this case number are correct and the alibi is connected to the scene of crime at the time of the late Senzo Meyiwa's killing. There were 7 adult persons with the deceased at 13511 Kutlwano Street, Mzamo section, First Lotus, at the time of his death, and the said people must explain what happened to him. And paragraph 5 thereof says, we are currently at advanced stage of negotiation with the suspected persons under First Lotus CAS 375 1 of 2019. And paragraph 6 says there's further consideration to bring urgent application to the relevant court to compel the National Prosecuting Authority to request issuing warrants of arrest against the suspected persons under First Lotus CAS 375 1 2019. And I don't think the rest is important. My Lord, we just indicating that here's correspondence wherein my colleague, and we're not doing this out of any ill motive, we just demonstrate to my Lord that correspondence was sent to her where specific reference was made to First Lotus CAS 375/1/2019.
Well, Advocate Baloy, can we adjourn just for a short time? There's something I need to fetch. Actually, it's my medication.
As a court, please, can we also, there's something that we need to verify, can we call the court when we are ready, my lord?
All right.
February 2022, with the heading First Flores Cars 63610/2014 and 375/1/2019, and the annexure that we've just attached, Exhibit AA in brackets 2, consists of 5 pages, and on the second page, my lord, we'll see that the date thereof is 27 February 2022. So it accords with the proof of email, my lord, that I've just read out. And I'll just briefly...
Was this also related to Advocate Mshololo?
Yes. I'll just briefly, in fact, to all counsel, my lord.
You say I think I will need for us to discuss in chambers, but I am open about what I want us to discuss in chambers. We seem to be gilding the lily. We are not busy with the trial regarding the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. We are busy with side issues. I am not even sure how all this is assisting what we are here for. What you have submitted on top of what was even mentioned before the longish adjournment or postponement, where I myself also said to advocate, therefore, you cannot be held to object to a postponement because you have been privy to docket number 2, whereas Advocate Mshololo was kept in the dark. I do not know, maybe I'm missing something. I do not know whether that in itself doesn't place on record that there was something that was not correctly done regarding the second docket. And if it does, I do not know what we are doing here.
Yes.
In my sense, all time that we utilize here is precious, very, very precious. And I've listened to you, and I'm sorry that I'm saying this before even Mr. Tovane addresses court. But we seem to be busy with the obvious. The issue is about the second docket not having been announced or made known to all concerned sooner rather than later. And already the cross-examination of Advocate Mshololo as against Sergeant Musia has been placing a trail around the second docket. And if that be the case, there's a very big question about what are we doing here from yesterday? What are we doing?
Yes.
Or put differently, can I tell Advocate Baloyi, Mr. Tovane, and Advocate Mshololo that while busy with this case, I noted that discovery for purposes of this case has not been done simultaneously for all concerned, or maybe put harshly, has not been done in a manner fair to all. But that kind of a negative buzz has already passed, and we seem to be running after it, picking up whatever the passengers are throwing through the windows. For what reason, I don't know. So I'm saying, having said that, may we go to chambers and discuss for a short time, we don't need a long time, how we go forward, using our time more wisely. This is not a criticism against anyone. I sat here and listened, and you addressed me, but I really feel that we are gilding the lily. If it's about placing on record what Advocate Mshololo referred to as an irregularity, what I am referring to as something that did not pan out in a manner fair to all. I think that is my take about this. So may we adjourn and go to my chambers and map out the way forward.
As a court, please.
Along, all right.
Before adjourning, we agreed that we are going to discuss what is underway, namely the application on behalf of accused number 5.
Ngaphambilini nje kokuthi ke siqhubekeke bekunesicelo besikhona noma besifakwa ummeli wakhe uMangalelo Wesihlanu.
And that came about because it came to my realization that there's a sense in which the application is about what is already on record in this case.
Futhi ke leso sicelo leso bekuyisicelo ke esize noma esifakwe ke ngalokho osekwaziwa noma ke bekuke kwakhulunywa ngako ngaphambilini kulona ke icala.
The issue, though, was about what is perceived by Advocate Mshololo as an irregularity that took place around the disclosure concerning the second docket.
Leso sicelo leso besimayela ke nalo lokho ekushiwo uyena ke uAdvocate Mshololo ukuthi lokho okungenziwanga ngokufanele noma ngendlela ke ngokuphathelene noma nokumayela nedokodo lesibili.
She also raised issues about contradictions between statements by one and the same people as regards the first docket and when the same people made statements for purposes of the second docket.
Okunye okushilo futhi ke ukuthi yila khona ke abantu benze istatement kwidokodo lokuqala benza futhi nestatement kwidokodo lesibili ukuthi ke le statement bengakhulumi into eyodwa noma efanayo kuzona zonke kuona omabili.
There was a day here when we needed to postpone this case and there was a fight about the need or otherwise to postpone because Wise Advocate Mshololo needed time and stated so to go through the contents of what we now know as the second docket. Advocate therefore felt that that was not necessary.
Kwakunelanga la khona ke kwaba khona ke ukuthi ke kuliswane khona uma ngabe ke uyena ke uadvocate Mshololo wayecela ukuthi icala lihlehliswe ngokuthi ke efuna ukuthi ahamba ayobheka noma ayofunda ukuthi yini ke ekulela dokotela lesibili wabe sebuza ke yena ke uadvocate Tef ukuthi sikhona noma sasikhona yini isidingo salokho.
Advocate therefore also revealed that even before this case started, he had access to what we know as the second docket.
Wakusho ke futhi yena ke uadvocate Tef ukuthi nangaphambilini kokuthi icala leli liqale yena waselibonile ke leli elesibili idokodo.
If I may use the word, it's a privilege that Advocate Mshololo never had.
Uyena ke umuntu owathi wanakho ke ukuthi akwenze lokho kodwa ke ngeshwa yena ke uadvocate Mshololo akazange akwazi ukuthi alibone lolo dokodo noma alifunde.
But fact is by the time Advocate Mshololo raised this aspect and sought to bring about a special plea, the aspect of the second docket and the aspect of possible contradictions between statements in the first and the second dockets had already become part of the record of the proceedings of this case.
Ngaleso sikhathi ke enza leso sicelo yena ke uadvocate Mshololo udaba ke lo dokotela lesibili ke nokuthi ke khona ke okushiwo noma ekukhulunywayo lapho okungahambelani noma ongavumelani nokushiwo kwelinye idokodo beku udaba lolo noma ke obeselichaziwe noma ke olazekayo khona la kuleli icala eliphambi kwenkantolo.
Now it is tried that the purpose of section 317 of the Criminal Procedure Act number 51 of 1977 is to bring about a possibility for evidence to be part of the record which would otherwise not have been part of the record had it not been introduced via section 317.
Inhloso ke yaso isicelo lesi esifakiwe uyena noma ebesenziwa uyena ke umeli kaMangalelwa wesihlanu Advocate Mshololo ukuthi ke kulethwe ke ubufakazi obengasiyona ingxenye yecala leli eliphambi kwenkantolo iyona inhloso ke leyo ka section 317.
And it is on that basis that there is a strong feeling that the application in itself ends up being tantamount to killing a dead snake.
Ila khona ke uma ngabe sekubhekwa isicelo leso ke kungafaniswa ke nokuthi ke ubulala nje inyoka isifile vele.
By virtue of the fact that that is already on the record.
Ngoba ke wenza noma uletha ke ubufakazi osele bukhona vele noma obusebuyingxenye vele yecala leli.
I must quickly indicate that in defense of a move, Advocate Mshololo did raise that other than the issue of the second docket, there are specific statements in the equation which make for a contradiction that might not be very apparent on the record so far.
Ngaphandleni ke ukuthi enze lesicelo ke yena ke advocate Mshololo ke kodwa ke okunye akuvezile nakushilo ukuthi ke kunezitatimende ezikhona lapha yana la izitatimende engakhulumi into eyodwa lokho ke kona ke kungasiyona ke ingxenye ye record leli yalecala leli eliphambi kwenkantolo.
But all four of us agreed that that kind of a train has not gone past, in the sense that such issues can still be a subject of cross-examination as the trial proceeds forward.
Kodwa ke ngalokho ke esivumelana ngakho ke ukuthi ke singekafiki ke khona lapho ke lokho kusengaba ingxenye ke yemibuzo engathi ibuzwe yena ke ufakazi nanjengoba saqhubeka.
That renders a continuation along the trail that we had jumped onto around the application not being very, very necessary, almost an unwise use of time.
Lokho kungathi ke khona ke bekungasi khona ke isidingo sokuthi kungenzeka lokho ukuthi ke kusetshenziswe nje isikhathi ebesingathi singaqhubeka ngaso.
All four of us agreed that Advocate Mshololo is no longer going to pursue this application in the way it was proceeding, in the interest of saving time for better use for purposes of this case.
Sivumelane ke mangabe sihlangene sobaneke ukuthi ke akazibasaqhubeka ke uadvocate Mshololo ngaleso sicelo nanjengoba sibheke ke ukuthi isikhathi sisetshenziswa ngendlela efanele.
We also agreed that for the sake of equal opportunities for all in the case, Mr. Tobane, who was also made, I think, by the three of us to go and prepare heads, written heads, and who has done so, is going by agreement to submit his heads into the record.
Savumelana ke futhi ke sobathathu ke ukuthi nanjengoba naye ke umnumzana uThobane ebenikiwe ke isikhathi sokuthi ahambe ayoyilungiselela ke lokho ke akubhalile phansi kuzonikezwa ke ithuba lokuthi akudlulisele enkantolo.
He also volunteered in the interest of time not to be to agree not to be afforded the time to address in other words, he will simply stand by his heads where that is concerned.
Futhi ke naye wasevuma ke umnumzana uThobane ukuthi ke uzoma nje kulokho azobe ekudlulisa enkantolo okubhaliwe phansi akazoba sathatha ke isikhathi sokuthi adlulise inkulumo enkantolo.
Before we adjourned, I had already indicated that I note that the discovery for purposes of this case did not benefit, as a process, it did not benefit all parties on an equal footing. And specifically that Advocate Mshololo was left out where some of the discovery was happened, left out in the sense of the timing, that discovery for her benefit was much later rather than sooner.
Bese ngishilo ke ngaphambilini ke ukuthi ukutholakala ke noma ukuvezwa kudalulwa ke akukwenzekanga ke ngendlela ukuthi la khona bonke ke baye bathola ukuthi kwenzeke khona ke ngokulingana kakhulukazi ke uadvocate Mshololo inkantolo ebisikhilo ke lokho ukuthi yena ke njengoba kwabanye kudalulwe ngesikhathi kuyena ke ukuthole lokho emuva kwesikhathi.
Mr. Tobane, you may hand in your heads.
As a court versus Lordship, I do hand in my head of arguments, and I do stand by my submissions, and I won't address the court further. This court pleases.
This makes it an exhibit.
Well, the rest of our heads of argument, we just send it up without them being marked.
Okay.
If we were to mark them, just to, in keeping with the other exhibits, we were at exhibit AA in brackets 3. Maybe we can mark Advocate Mshololo's heads, exhibit AA in brackets 4, and the heads of argument for the state, AA in brackets 5.
Actually, where's that exhibit? AA 5. You say AA 5 is the heads of argument of whom?
For the state.
Where did you put that?
And Mr. Tobanes can be marked AA in brackets 6.
Yes. Let's proceed. I did indicate that I noted the concern by Advocate Mshololo about the fact that the access to the second docket and certain statements was not at the same timing at which that happened for purposes of case number 1 to 4.
That's the court business. That's the court business.
As the court pleases, my lord. I think if my memory serves me well, we adjourned on the 14th of June for the continuation of the cross-examination and to afford Advocate Mshololo to go through the second docket. And this is where we are, my lord, in terms of the proceedings. This is the resumption of the cross-examination.
Mr. Musia, the registrar was asking me whether he should redo the oath. I think as a police officer, you know, you were sworn in, and you were sworn in when we last proceeded in your presence, and what I do now is to remind you that you are still under oath.
Monghadi Mosia, registrar ona botsa lekgotla hore na ho hlokahala hore a buseletse hape ho nkisa kano o boele o hlapanye pela lekgotla empa lekgotla le re ka hobane o le ponisa o tseba tsela le tsamaiso ya ho ba ka hare ho lekgotla ha bone ho hlokahala se tlameileng a se etse fela gore a o hopotse hore o nkile kano pela lekgotla empa kano e o nkileng ha re qala e santsene le yona e o tlamang le hana jwatso ya utlwahala monghadi.
And like before, because of your condition, feel free to rise when you want to rise, sit down when you need to sit down.
Lekgotla le re lodisa maemo a hao a bophelo o ka nna wa re ha o ikutlwa ho batla o ema o eme ha o utlwa hore ho batla hore o dule fatshe o lokollohile ho ka etsa jwalo ya utlwahala monghadi.
And make us know if you need for us to pause so that you get respite from whatever that may be a problem to you at a particular time.
Le ha ebene o hloka hore lekgotla le o fe nakonyana ya hore o otlole maoto kapa o lo fumana meriana bakeng sa hore o thobe dipeni tse o leng ho tsona o lokollohile hore o phamise letsoho o hlalosetse lekgotla hore o kopa nakonyana e jwatso ya utlwahala monghadi.
Advocate Mshalolo.
Understood, my lord.
Thank you, my lord. May I proceed, my lord?
Yes, please.
My lord, I would like to bring the application to lead hearsay evidence in terms of section 3, subsection 1C of Act number 45 of 1988. In order, my lord, to lead the statement of the witness, Johan Lovu,
You said in terms of?
section 3, subsection 1C of Act 45 of 1988.
Yes.
The reason, my lord, being that the deponent to the statement that I'm intending to refer the witness before this court is no more. He had since passed away, and therefore he cannot be called to come and confirm the credibility of this statement. However, my lord, it is my submission that it is in the interest of justice that the content of this statement be read into the witness who is currently in the witness box for him to respond.
Memo Sholo le leng le qothala moqosi wa bohlano o etsa kopo hore lekgotla le mamele ebile le amohele bopaki ba mabare ho ya ka section 3 subsection 1 of 3 and then are statement se a kopang hore a se bale pele ho lekgotla ke sa Johan Ndlovu e se ile mofu ke ka ho a kekeng a kgona ho biletswa lekgotleng bakeng sa hore a tlo fana ka bopaki ho se wa se ngotseng statementeng sa hae o batla fela hore a bale se ngotsweng statementeng se hore wena jwalo ka paki o tlo o be le tshwaelo tsa hao ka seo a tla se balang. Ya utlwahala monghadi. Understood, my lord.
Yes.
My lord, above the absence of the person whose credibility, the probative value of such evidence depends, is no longer available, but I can confirm, my lord, that the commissioner who commissioned the same statement is still alive, and she will be called to come and confirm that this statement was deposed to by General Ndlovu on the 18th of July 2019. I have been informed, my lord, by the state, subject to correction, that at this stage it is not clear whether Colonel Joyce Busisiwe Ndlovu Buthelezi, who commissioned this statement, will be called to testify. But in the event that the state is not calling him, the defense will bring the application to call her in order to confirm the truthfulness of the statement as a person who commissioned this statement. Therefore, my lord, I'm asking for the provisional acceptance of this statement. It is in the interest of justice, my lord, and in terms of section 31C, the court having regard to the nature of the proceedings, these are the criminal proceedings, my lord, and the nature of the evidence, it's about the crime scene, which has got a bearing on the testimony of the witness who is currently testifying. And the purpose for which the evidence is tendered, it's the contradictions or it's the submissions made in this statement which are not according to what the witness has testified about before this court. It's for him to respond on those contradictions that I have noted in this statement. And the probative value of the evidence, my lord, is to test the credibility of the testimony of the witness who is before this court.
Yes.
Based on those facts, my lord, I ask that I be allowed to use this statement provisionally until such time that it is confirmed by the commissioner of oaths who commissioned it, as the court pleases.
Advocate Baloyi.
As the court pleases, my lord, we object to the use of the statement of the late General Ndlovu. Well, firstly, my lord, we've already traveled down this road. The court will recall that Advocate Tifo tried to cross-examine the witness on that statement, and the state objected, and even if there was no formal ruling, but Advocate Tifo then abided by the objection and did not pursue the matter any further. Section 3 of Act 45 of 1988 that my learned friend wants to make use of mentions 3 possible bases for admissibility of hearsay evidence. The first possibility is by consent. We're not consenting to that. The second ground is testifying by the person on whose credibility the value of the hearsay depends. Obviously, this is not possible in light of the demise of the witness. And thirdly, judicial discretion in the interest of justice. And that is the ground on which my learned friend is basing her argument. And it is perhaps opposite to refer to what is stated in the textbook Instructional Procedure.
Yes.
The February 2022 version. And there's a warning that the writer gives, and this is on all fours with what Advocate Mshololo has just said now, that she wants to
You want to quote from?
Himstra comment on the criminal procedure. She says she wants to cross-examine Advocate Musia on the statement of General Ndlovu to show contradictions.
Yes.
And also to attack the credibility of the witness before court, but the writer sounds the following warning. The discretion in terms of Section 31C of Act 45 of 1988 ought not to be exercised when controversial points are in issue and regarding which conflicting evidence has been given. And this is precisely
Ought not
what
to be exercised when controversial.
when controversial points
Yes.
are in issue
Yes.
and regarding which conflicting evidence has been given. And my lord, the learned author proceeds to say that in those circumstances, the interest of justice will not be served. Because, you know, the interest of justice is the only exceptional ground on which the hearsay evidence, in which the court can exercise its discretion to allow hearsay evidence.
Yes.
The learned author proceeds to say, admitting hearsay evidence in such circumstances would indeed have the potential prejudice and would not serve the primary object, namely the interest of justice.
Yes.
My lord, a statement has got to be identified by the author. The author must confirm its contents. The author must also confirm that he agrees with the contents of that statement. And if an interpreter was used, confirm that there was no misunderstanding between the author and the interpreter. So, my lord, we're saying that even if my learned friend was to call the person to who commissioned the statement, those aspects, my lord, will still not be covered. We therefore, my lord, object against the use of the statement, my lord. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Lordship. As the defense of accused 1 to 4, we agree with the applicant, accused number 5, for the hearsay evidence to be led, because that was the precise point we raised when we instructed our erstwhile advocate, and the court said, is it the right time or maybe it's not the right time? And on that basis, we withdraw application because we were under the view that proper bases were not laid. However, in this instance, accused number 5, defense raised and the basis, placed the basis on record with regard to that application. The principles mentioned by the state, there must be a consent. As for accused number 1 to 4 defense, we consent. And
What about the fact that the state does not consent?
I'm going to the third point that will lead the court to make a discretion in the interest of justice, based on the fact that this is the issue of 636 versus 375 dockets. The state raised the Himstra commentary, Your Lordship. Unless I'm mistaken, has the state already made a conclusion that the witness in the box had already made conflicting evidence? Is that what the state saying? There is no judgment as yet to state that the witness in the box gave conflicting evidence. If I look at that commentary, it's what it says. Or are we saying further that the witness in the box gave controversial points? We have not yet arrived there. Furthermore, what must be noted, my lordship, is that Section 45 of 1998, of Act of 1998, Act 45 of 1998, it actually is 1988. I understand it's 1988. It came into being before the Constitution, before 1996. Therefore, it won't stand the constitutional master in terms of Section 35, which the Constitution also talks about the fair trial and the rights of the accused to be protected. The main reason why the defense of accused number 5 want to question the witness in the box with regard to this statement is the same fact to determine the credibility. We are not yet there. And it's not the defense of number 5 or of 1 to 4 or the state who must determine that. It's the court. Therefore, we humbly submit that the submissions by the state falls flat, and in the interest of justice, we are in support of the application by defense of accused number 5, and we pray that decision be made by the Honorable Court. As a point raised regarding the judicial discretion, which the judicial discretion comes from the court, not from the defense teams. As a court session. My lordship.
Yes.
Thank you. My lord, should I respond? Thank you. My Lord, the fact that my learned friend advocate therefore was prevented from using this statement previously should not be used, my Lord, in this application that I'm bringing before this honorable court. My Lord, that is not the test to be used in determining whether, as the defense for accused number 5, I should be should be allowed to use the statement for Brigadier Ndlovu. Secondly, my Lord, and above that, there was no proper application to lead hearsay evidence that was brought by my learned friend before this court. There was no proper application that was brought, yes, my Lord, which had been previously been refused by this court. It is the first time that this application is brought before this court regarding the inception of the statement of Brigadier Ndlovu, who has been referred by this witness as the person who was with him at the crime scene.
Yes.
Secondly, my Lord, the contradictions that I want to put before this court, they have not been reflected on the record. The witness has testified. I have noted the contradictions from this statement. That is why I want to raise them, to put them to the attention of this witness so that he can respond. That's the whole purpose. And then lastly,
Yes.
my Lord, if this statement, or if I am denied the opportunity to introduce this statement to raise the contradictions between the statement of Brigadier Ndlovu and Sergeant Mosia are not brought to the attention of Mr. Mosia, I will not be able at the end of the case to address on the contradictions between the two statements. Hence, therefore, my Lord, I submit that it is in the interest of justice that I raise these contradictions which are contained in the statement of Brigadier Ndlovu, whilst the witness is still here for him to respond, my Lord. And then lastly, my Lord, I have indicated before his lordship that the testator, who is Brigadier Ndlovu, has passed away. It is true that he cannot confirm the truthfulness of this statement. However, I still submit, my Lord, to say the person who commissioned this statement is still alive, and she would be called to come and confirm the authenticity of this statement, my Lord. And therefore, I ask that I be allowed, provisionally allowed, to use the statement of Brigadier Ndlovu to cross-examine Mr. Mosia, as the court pleases, my Lord.
You say who is still alive?
The commissioner, my Lord, who is Colonel Joyce Busisiwe Buthelezi, is the police officer, my Lord, who commissioned this statement on the 18th of July 2019. She will be called by the defense, my Lord, to come and confirm the authenticity of the statement. And also, if I may put it to the attention of the court, my Lord, that the type of the statement that I'm intending to refer this witness is the statement that has been obtained by the state. It's not coming from the defense, it's coming from the SAPS, who has been investigating this case. And I see no prejudice, my lord, with the due respect that will be suffered by the state, because I'm just leading the evidence that was obtained by the same state officials. And to be specific, my lord, that this is one of the statements which is contained in the second docket, which had been withheld by the state when this witness started to testify. That is the reason why I want to bring it to the attention of this witness. Thank you, my lord.
Before you sit down, just the aspect of the contradiction.
Yes,
that
my lord.
the contradiction you referred to
Yes, my lord.
is not something of the making by this witness. It's what you deduce out of looking at a statement by Brigadier Ndlovu. How does it become the responsibility of Sergeant Musia to explain a contradiction by Brigadier Ndlovu?
But, my lord, maybe if I can be given an opportunity, I'll refer this court to the page and the date wherein the witness who is currently on the box, he testified in his examination in chief and during cross-examination when he referred to Colonel Ndlovu as the person who gave him instructions.
Okay.
With the court's permission, there's one aspect that I forgot to mention. Can I be allowed to mention it now, my lord?
No, I object, my lord. I'm the one who brought the application. The state has been given time to respond. I have replied. Those are the rules of the procedure, my lord.
I am going to have to make a ruling on this aspect. I think I should make that ruling out of a position of being fully informed. So on that basis, I am overruling the objection.
As the court pleases.
As the court pleases, the one aspect, my lord, that we also want to mention is the circumstances under which the statement would have been made, my lord. We've heard from Sergeant Musia that when he made an additional statement that's filed in the second docket, he was laboring under the impression that he's making a further statement under 63610 of 2014 to clarify certain aspects.
To interrupt, Your Lordship, to interrupt, with due respect, I do agree with the court to overrule Defense 5. Maybe the state should have given us the introduction of the submission they make. It's very clear that this submission the state is making, it hasn't got nothing to do with statement of Ndlovu. Now the state is diverting. If the court can listen to what the state say, is diverting from statement of Ndlovu.
Is that true, Mr. Baloyi?
No,
Are you bringing us a new menu?
No, I'm not diverting. I'm just saying that the occasion of the statement is also crucial, and that the only person who can testify about the circumstances under which the statement was made is unfortunately Brigadier Ndlovu. And I'm just saying that we must just be mindful of what Sergeant Musia testified, that when he made an additional statement, he was under a misapprehension that he's making an additional statement to clarify certain aspects in the main docket, whilst in fact it was meant for the second docket. So I'm saying that the there's a possibility that there was also such a misapprehension, and the only person who can clarify that is Brigadier Ndlovu. That's all that I wanted to say, Mama.
It's strange what you are saying.
I'm sorry?
Because the misapprehension you're talking about does not relate to the deceased. It relates
Yes.
to
Yes.
the witness we have.
Indeed, my lord. I'm just trying to draw a parallel to say that the only person who can testify about the occasion of the statement will be Brigadier Ndlovu, and unfortunately, no, he's no longer with us. That's all I'm saying.
You know, if you ask me, what you are saying, it sounds like an answer that Sergeant Musia should give to one of the questions by Advocate Msholo. It sounds pretty much like that.
Yes,
If what you are saying now is something that obtains for purposes of whatever question,
yes,
it
but
will be incumbent upon Mr. Musia to state that. Simply answer to say, this is because of a misapprehension I had when I made the statement.
yes, but it's already on record, my lord. That is on
Your
record.
Lordship, I apologize again. I did ask the state to allow the witness to stay outside while we're busy dealing, before we made the agreement with regard to the application. Now we're discussing the witness who's before the court.
But you were also here.
Yes, yes. That's how I did.
You cannot attribute that problem singularly to him.
No, the reason why I raised so fast, quick, Your Lordship, is that Your Lordship is already now going into the evidence of the witness who's in this box. That's why it was proper for the state to tell the witness, can you please wait outside?
There you are.
As a court, please, we're not aware that that my learned friend was going to start with this argument. We thought perhaps it was going to follow at the later stage. She did mention that she intends to bring it, but we did not know that she's going to start with it. And for that purpose, my lord, we will just ask the witness to wait outside.
Sergeant Musia, excuse us.
Yes. My lord, all I'm saying is that I'm quoting what is already
Objection,
on.
my lord. My lord, as I've already objected, the submissions that are made by the state right now, they are irrelevant to this current application. He's now making speculation regarding the previous statement that was made by the witness, which is not the case in the application which is before this court. The submission is made by this court is irrelevant and should not be allowed, and it's wasting the court's time. Those are my submissions, my lord.
Relevance?
As a court, please, my lord, in proving the circumstances under which a statement is made, the occasion is also important to identify the occasion when such a statement is made. So all I'm saying is that
Would that not be best mentioned when you address, if they end up succeeding, would
Yes.
that not be a point to raise in the process of addressing court?
But, you know, the host would have bolted already under those circumstances. Hence, you know, we are raising it at this stage that the court will be
You mean the
hampered.
issue of the circumstances?
Yes, the court will not be in the position to determine the occasion of the statement, the circumstances under which the statement was made, as was demonstrated in the evidence of Sergeant Musia. Thank you, that is all.
Do you want to say something? Because he added. Do you still want to say something?
No, my lord, other than to say the submission is irrelevant. Thank you, my lord.
No submissions, Your Lordship.
There is a situation before this court, a situation before the criminal justice system, a situation before all who care about this case, which comes a bit unprecedented, where we are somehow inexplicably dealing with a crime that was committed and which gave rise to two dockets. Two dockets that were generated by one and the same police service, the South African Police Service in Gauteng and specifically in South Gauteng. And that is what led us where we are. Perhaps one should also mention that this appearance of confusion seems to have started from the moment this crime was committed. If it was up to me, I would decree that when a crime is committed, only people that are relevant to the crime committed should be allowed to be at the scene. In this case, we have this case where murder is alleged, where onlookers came from all sorts of levels, politicians, experts, onlookers, and what was being done does not seem to tally with any script around issues of crime and the investigation thereof. And like I said just before now, this is what lands us here. Everyone is asking how it came about that we have this situation. I cannot speak to a great length about this because we have already been told there is another docket, and it will not be wise of me to comment extensively and even seem to be pre-deciding issues of the second docket even before it comes before a court of law for adjudication. But the issue before court now is about a statement that was made as if the misfortune was to be added, a statement that was made by somebody who has already passed on, whose name rang within the proceedings of this case, who gave direction over the phone to Sergeant Musia to visit the crime scene. I don't want to go into detail about it now at this stage, except to say that the person giving direction to Sergeant Musia for him to reach the crime scene, did it over the phone. Not only did he do that, he arrived at the scene well before Sergeant Musia. And it is his statement that we are debating now. It will not serve as a good purpose for me to line up the circumstances under which evidence, hearsay evidence, can be admitted in terms of in terms of Act number 45 of 1988, but I will go straight to the third instance in which hearsay evidence may be admitted. And it is on this aspect that the state and the defense and both defense counsels differ in the sense that the state feels that the reading of that statement will not be in the interest of justice, whereas the defense feels that doing so will be in the interest of justice. Sergeant Musia seems to have been involved in one way or another in both dockets, in the sense that, or let me say, having been involved in both dockets, issues or questions are popping out now which need to be addressed, and maybe by way of an unfortunate turn of events for Sergeant Musia, he is now even having to field questions that have to do with a statement made by somebody else in the person of Brigadier Ndlovu. There are so many conspiracy theories doing rounds around this case, around this incident, around the role players in this case. And that includes all of us. That includes those who investigated, that includes those who are busy or involved in the trial around this incident. And all of it seems to cast aspersions in a manner very underlined against the integrity of the criminal justice system as it obtains in our country. And those theories, some of which were verbalized here in court, rightly or wrongly, are lingering in the minds of everyone. I agree that the first and the second instance under Section 45 do not, I mean, Section 3 of Act number 45 of 1988 do not apply. There is definitely no consent. Indeed, Brigadier Ndlovu can no longer come and testify. What is left to be considered is whether it will be in the interest of justice if a statement by him is read, so that issues that pop out from his statement that are deemed by the defense to be relevant to be raised with Sergeant Musia. The question is whether doing so will be in the interest of justice. Not doing or not allowing that may well come across as an endeavor to sweep aspects under the carpet that are relevant for purposes of the incident that is a subject of this trial. It will not assist the image of our criminal justice system, much as it will not assist the image of those who are involved in this trial, from investigation up to the trial itself as it is unrolling. And based on that, it is my considered view that it will be in the interest of justice if the statement by Brigadier Ndlovu is read, and if the issues emanating from the statement by Brigadier Ndlovu that are deemed to be relevant for purposes of cross-examination by Advocate Mshololo are indeed raised, and everyone can hear for themselves how Sergeant Musia responds to questions revolving around all that. And as a result, it is the ruling of this court that allowing the statement to be read and allowing cross-examination based on the contents of the statement by Brigadier Ndlovu will be in the interest of justice.
As the court pleases, my lord.
As such, the court rules that it will be allowed.
As the court pleases.
Afishane bafethu ngeke sikusho konke. Inkantolo ke inqoma ukuthi iyamvumela u-Advocate Mshololo ukuthi ke lesa statement sakhe uBrigadier Ndlovu ebefisa ukuthi abuze uSergeant Musia ngaso, iyamvumela ke ukuthi impela angaqhubeka akwenze lokho.
Maybe whilst you are calling Sergeant Musia, just for clarity, should I call the commissioner, who is Joyce Busisiwe Buthelezi, immediately after Sergeant Musia or at the defense case? Because
Well,
before,
if it is you calling that witness, you definitely cannot slot your witness in between
the
the
state
witnesses
case.
of another party.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
My lord, the only exception will be if it's sort of a mini, trial within a trial to determine a specific aspect. I think in that instance, the defense can then just call that witness just to prove, as they put it, just to prove the statement.
But the question becomes: Are we in a trial within a trial?
No, I'm just saying that
Oh,
if
okay.
it's necessary, we can go into that just to prove the statement.
Yeah, to me, it sounded as if Advocate Mshololo will be slotting in her own witness in between your witnesses. That is why I felt that we cannot do it that way. Sergeant Musia, you still under oath?
Re sa hopotswa fela hore o hlapantse o bua nnete monghadi Mosia, ya utlwahala.
Whilst you were out, the court concluded listening to arguments, part of which you had before you were excused, and the court ruled that the statement by Brigadier Ndlovu shall be read. Amongst others, the reason why the court ruled as such has to do with the interest of justice. That we have heard about the first and the second docket. This statement is about or was made by somebody who was even responsible for directing you, if not misdirecting you, around the crime of sin on the day the offense was committed. So it will be read and there will be questions based on that statement. And we are fully aware that it's not your statement. It's a statement by Brigadier Ndlovu, who has since passed on.
Monghadi no tsejisa fela hore o tswile se puo e sentse e le mahareng ka kopo ene e tswa ke Mme Mshololo bakeng sa hore ho tlo amohelwe bopaki ba mabare ba Brigadier Ndlovu hore le wena ba tle ba o hlome dipotso ka tse ding tsa dintho tse leng hore di ngotswe mane ho bontsha hore phapang e bile kae e le ho latela hore Brigadier Ndlovu ke yena e leng hore ke yena ana a o okametse e bile a o fa ditaelo tse itseng so le khotla le batla go bona hore na ebe ona o fa ditaelo tse leng tsona kapa ona a o lahletsa fela mme wena o tla ikarabela ho ya ka se o tla botswang sona ho latela ka statement seo ene le khotla le re le tseba hantle ga se statement sa hao empa le batla fela hore wena o arabele tseo o di tsebang ho ya ka statement seo ya utlwahala monghadi
Ya utlwahala.
understood my lord.
Thank you, Lord. My Lord, with the leave of the court, may I read the statement into the record, and then after reading the statement, I will ask that it be admitted as an exhibit. Thereafter, I will take the witness through the content. Thank you, my Lord.
How many pages?
It's two, my Lord, two
Okay,
handwritten.
then you can read.
The statement of Johan Ndlovu is read into the record as follows. I am General in the South African Police with the force number 06054145, stationed at the provincial office as a Deputy Provincial Commissioner, Crime Detention, and I wish to state under oath that on the day in question at about 21:45 to 2200, I was called by Colonel Molikope, who informed that there was a shooting in Vosloorus where the deceased Senzo Meyiwa was shot. Can the interpretation be done, my Lord, whilst I'm proceeding?
Can we have a document, please?
Yeah, I think we run the risk of misinterpretation if they don't have a copy. So if come again.
Apparently it's on the screen.
It's on the screen. Oh,
Which screen?
thank you. Can it be showed?
Apparently there's another process that must be followed. Maybe we can take the long adjournment for the copy.
Yeah, let's get an adjournment and get copies, because I mean precision with regard to interpretation
Yes, ma'am.
is vital, because we may end up with questions under cross-examination that are caused merely because or caused by the misinterpretation.
Interpretation, as the court pleases, Madam.
What time are we resuming, my lord?
What time are we back here?
2 o'clock, my lord.
As the court pleases.
Despite the fact that we are
2 o'clock, my lord. 2 o'clock. As the court pleases. The statement of Johan Lovu is read into the record. I am a Major General in the South African Police with the force number 06054145, stationed at Provincial Office as Deputy Provincial Commissioner, Crime Detention, and I wish to state that
Sena ke statement se ngotsweng ke Johan Ndlovu ya buileng kapa a sengotse a le ka tlase ho kano a bua mantswe a latelang a re nna ke nna Mayor General ke sebeletsa lefapha la Seponesa sa Afrika Borwa nomoro ya ka ya mosebetsi ke 06054145 me ke bua sena ke hlapantse ke re ke ne ke sebeletsa Provincial Office ibile ke jwalo ka Deputy Provincial Commissioner me ke tla bua tse latelang ka tlase ho kana.
Ummeli ke uzofunda istatement sakhe ongasekho uJohan Ndlovu ochaza ngalendlela ngiu-Major General emaphoyiseni aseNingizimu Afrika wachaza ke inamba yakhe yasemsebenzini asho nala esebenza khona ke i-Provincial Office nanjengo Deputy Provincial Commissioner ethi ke ngichaza lokhu okulandelayo.
on the day in question at about 21:45 to 2200, I was called by Colonel Maligobe, who informed that there was a shooting in Vosloorus where the deceased Senzo Meyiwa was shot.
Ka letsatsi ha e tswela pele e re ka letsatsi le boletsweng e le ka nako ya bo 21:45 ho ya ho 2200 e le bosiu ya ba ke fumana mohala o tswang ho Colonel Mogope ya ileng a ntsibisa hore ho na le ho thunyana ho bileng teng Vosloorus mo ileng hore mofu Senzo Meyiwa o ile a thungwa.
Ngelanga ke noma ngalelanga ekukhulunywa ngalo phakathi ke ko-10 nango 10 ebusuku ngathola ucingo kuyena uKolonel Mogope kuyena uKolonel Mogope owangazisa ke ukuthi kwakunodubulo olalukhona ke eVosloorus la kwadutshulwa khona ke umufi uSenzo Meyiwa.
I asked him the direction to the scene, and he told me that we must meet at the Botelong Hospital in Vosloorus, where the victim was. I proceeded to Botelong, where I met Colonel Mogope, and I learned that the deceased was declared dead on arrival at the hospital.
Yaba he ke ya mobotsa hore di direction tsa mo sebakeng sa ketsahalo ke tse feng me yena ke ha a re kopanele sepetleleng sa Bophilong sa mane Vosloorus ke mo ke ileng ka ya hona teng hobane ho ne ho thile hlatsipa le rometswe mo empa ho fihleng ha ka Bophilong Hospital mo ke kopanetseng teng le Colonel Mogope ka fihlela ho se ho thwe mofu ho no so ho tlalehile hore ha a sa phela.
Ngase ngimbuza ke ukuthi finyelela kanjani ke noma ngiya kanjani ke la kwenzeka khona isehlakalo Angela ke ukuthi asihlangane esibhedlele sasebuthilong eFosloras. Ngathi ke uma sengifika ola khona ke umufi wayekhona ngaqhubeka ngaya khona esibhedlele ebuthilong la ngahlangana khona ke naye uKenya Mokope. Ngathola ke ukuthi inkathi ngifika lapho ke wathi uma umufi efika wachazwa ke nanjengomuntu oseshonile esibhedlela.
Paragraph 2, we then proceeded to the scene where we found the members of Fosloras who were already at the scene. The member in charge there was Captain Zwane. He briefed us about the scene and I find that the photographers and at the crime scene expect were not there. I then contacted Fosloras police station to give me the contact numbers of the person that was on standby so that I could call him. They gave me the numbers as per Fosloras, the duty list. They gave me the numbers, but I could not remember his name. I then called the number to come to the scene and I gave him the address where the scene was. When he arrived, he found me at the gate and showed him Captain Zwane, who was in charge of the crime scene.
Yaba kamera homo refitela sebakeng sa ketsahalo mo re ileng ra fihlela maponesa sebeletsang Fosloras asa ale sebakeng sa ketsahalo mme hona teng mo ke mo re ileng re kopana le ho tsijiswa Captain Zwane mme Captain Zwane ke yena ya ileng a re lomela hanyenyana ka tse etsahetseng sebakeng sa ketsahalo empa ka hlokomela hore ba nkang ditshwantsho ha bayo sebakeng sa ketsahalo le ba ditsebi ke mo ke ileng ka founela ba Fosloras police station ke kopa hore ba nthuse ka dinomoro tsa motho o nka buisana le yena hore a tlo nthusa ka ditshwantsho sebakeng sa ketsahalo ba mpha lenaneo la batho ba ileng hore ba standby ka letsatsi leo ba mpha le dinomoro le ha kwana ke sa hlola ke hopola lebitso la motho o empa kile ka mo leletsa mohala a fitla bakeng sa ketsahalo.
Sase siqhubeka ke siya khona ke kwindawo yesehlakalo sathola ke khona ke amalunga ase Fosloras ababese lapho kwindawo leyo yesehlakalo akuyena ke o in charge nama owayephethe ke lapho kwaku Captain Uzwane wasichazela ke kabanzi ke noma kafushane ke mayela nokwenzeka khona lapho ngathola ke ukuthi abathatha izithombe kanye futhi ke nongoti ke bese la kwenzeka khona isehlakalo sokulelesi babe ngekho ngase ke ngifonela sona ke istage samaphoyisa sase Fosloras ukuthi banginikeze ke imininingwane ke noma amanamba alowo owaye ku standby ngalelo langa ngizokwazi ke ukuthi ngimfonele banginikeza futhi ke nenamba nanjengoba yayikhona ke kuhla ngase ngifonela ke leyo number leyo lowo muntu lowo ukuthi eze ngamtshela ke futhi nekheli ukuthi ikuphi indawo leyo yesehlakalo uthe uma ngabe efika ke wangithola ke ngisegate noma ngime esangweni ke ngamkhombisa uCaptain Zwane okwakuyena ke owaye phethe lapho noma in charge.
Paragraph 4, I did not point any scene or exhibit to him as I was not in charge of the crime, of the scene, sorry my lord. I did not also tell him to go to the hospital as when I called him, I was already at the crime scene. The reason for me to call him was that I was assisting the investigation to get the aids quickly, as which they delay it. I can't read this name, my lord. The person of the scene investigation. affects. Sorry, my lord, can I just read this sentence? I was already at the scene. The reason for me to call him was that I was assisting the investigators to get the aids quickly as which the delay, it affects the person in the scene investigation. It might happen that he was called by other numbers from the station using private number because my cell phone was not used in a private mode. I know and understand the contents of this declaration. I have no objection to taking the prescribed oath.
Ya ba o tswella pele hore yena o na sentse a le sebakeng sa ketsahalo mo a ne a thusana le bane ba le sebakeng sa ketsahalo ho bokeletsa bopaki le ho ba fa ditlankana tse dihlokwa tse ba tla di sebedisa bakeng sa ho bokeletsa bopaki mme ya ba ha ke aka ka mo bolella ho ngata ka hobane ka lebaka la hobane ne ke sentse ke etsa mosebetsi wa ka mme ho ile wa bonahala hore hona le mohala o no sontse o mo letseditse mme mohala o a amohetseng o no o moleletsa ka nomoro e sa hlaisiwang private mme nna mohala wa ka o no o sa kenwa modung wa ho re ha o founa o hlaise private a qetella ka hore ke netefatsa tsohle tse ke di buang ka tlasokano hore ke nnete ya se etsahetseng.
Angizange-ke lo muntu lawo ngimkhombiseke lutho noma ngimkhombise ndawo khona lapho kwindawo yesehlakalo noma ke ubufakazi ngimkhombisa ubufakazi nanjengoba kwakungasimina-ke owayephethe khona lapho angizange futhi ngimtshele ukuthi ahambe aye esibhedlele nanjengoba ngesikhathi engangimshayela ngaso ucingo mina-ke ngangisevele ngilapho kwindawo yesehlakalo imbangela yokuthi-ke mina-ke ngimfonele kwakuwukuthi ngangilekelela abaphenyi noma labo ke ababenza umsebenzi ukuthi ke kutholakale usizo ngokusheshsha ngoba ke ukulibaziseka kwakuzothi ke kuchaphazele loyo umuntu lowo ke owaye limele khona lapho kungenzeka ke ukuthi bakhona ke abangabanye abamshayela ucingo ngamanye ngezinye inombolo futhi ke besebenzisa ke ama private number ngoba ke eyami i-cellphone yayingekho ke ku-private konke lokhu okubhalelwana ngiyakuzwa futhi ke ngiyakusho ukuthi kuyiqiniso futhi ke anginayo inkinga yokuthi ngingakuthathela isifungo.
That's the end of the statement, my lord. It is signed by Major General and commissioned on the 18th of July 2019. Mr. Mosia, did you understand the statement?
Utlwisiste statement ka mokgwa se ba duang ka teng monghadi Mosia. Yes, I did understand the contents of the statement.
Yebo ngikuzwile lokhu okubhalwe lapho kulesi statement.
In your examination in Chief Sergeant Mosia, you said Brigadier Lovo called you and summoned you to the crime scene.
Wa hopola bopaking ba hao bo ka sehlohlolong or o ile a founelwa ke Brigadier Ndlovu a o biletsa sebakeng sa ketsahalo. Correct.
Yebo kuyiqiniswa ukuthi ngishilo kubufakazi bami ukuthi ngafonelwa uyena uBrigadier Ndlovu wathi angiye la isehlakalo senzeka khona.
So it is true when there is reference to an expert who was called or who was summoned from the forensic to come and attend the crime scene.
So
There was you.
it was him who called the expert.
Who was called? Who's being referred to as the expert who was called by Brigadier Ndlovu?
Jwale ho bolela hore statement sena se bua nnete hobane se hlalosa hore ho ile hwa bitswa setsebi se biletswa sebakeng sa ketsahalo. So ho bolela hore setsebi seo e ne e le wena.
Ho jwalo.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Yebo kuyiqiniso ke lokho obhale lana ukuthi ngempela kukhona ke owafonelwa ke nowabizwa oba kuma forensic.
And when you were testifying in this court, you said Brigadier Ndlovu did not give you the directions or the address of the crime scene, if I may rephrase my lord, the address of the crime scene. That's
Wow.
what you said in your examination in chief. Do you remember that?
Wa hopola hore bopaking ba hao bo ka sehlohlolong o hlalositse hore wena Brigadier Ndlovu ha ka o fa address ya sebaka sa ketsahalo.
Ke nnete jwalo.
Yes, that's just true.
And on,
Kuyiqiniso ke ukuthi bengishilo ngathi inkathi engifonela ke uBrigadier Ndlovu akazange anginikeze ikheli la isehlakalo senzeka khona.
and on this statement, paragraph 3, he says, I then called the member to come to the scene and I gave him the address where the scene was. Did you hear that?
Ho ya ka paragraph ya boraro o rekile ka founela member e ka ba ka mo fa le address ya sebaka sa ketsahalo. O tlile ka seo?
Ke utlwile ka sona la ke sa dumellana le sona.
I heard what it's written but I disagree with it.
Ngikuzwile ke lokho noma ngiyakuzwa ke lokho obhale la athi khona ke wangifonela ke wasenginikeza ikheli la kufanele ngiye khona kodwa ke angivumelani nalokho.
So you were not telling the truth when you said you were not given the address. You have to find out yourself the address.
So o bolela hore wena o no sa bue nnete ha o no re ha wa fuwa address.
Why are you asking that question? After his answer, he said he can hear that, but he doesn't agree with it.
Can I rephrase it, my lord?
Yes.
And you further said that as a result of not being given the address, you had to go and start at the hospital. You remember that?
Wa hopola bopaking ba hao o re ka hobane o ha wa ka wa fuwa address ya sebaka sa ketsahalo o ile wa tlameha hore o lo qala sepetlele pele.
Ho jwalo mre.
That is correct.
And in this,
Ngishilo noma ngangishilo ke ukuthi ngenxa yalokho ke lokho kwabangela ukuthi ngihambe ngiyoqala esibhedlela.
why would you go to the hospital? Because the address had been given to you here.
Hobaneng o no lo qala sepetlele hobane ho thwe address o no e fiwa?
Ke se ke hlalositse hore address ke ne se tsebahale ka nako ke ne ke thola mohala.
I had already explained that when I was called, the address was still unknown.
Bese ngichazile ke ngaphambilini ukuthi inkathi ngifonelwa ikheli ngangingalazi.
The second line on the same paragraph 4, when he arrived, he found me at the gate and I showed him Captain Zwane, who was in charge of the crime scene.
Maqethelong a paragraph ya bone e re itse ha fihla o ile a nthola ke sentse ke eme gating ya ba ke mosupisa Captain Zwane e o leng hore yena ke yena ana a hlokometse sebaka sa ketsahalo.
Che ha ho jwalo. Hobane ke kopane le yena ka ba ka botsa tsohle maelana le sebaka sa ketsahalo aba a signa mo scene reporting ya ka hore ke amohetswe ke yena crime scene.
Whom did you meet?
Brigadier Ndlovu.
Okay. It is incorrect what he said because he is the one who gave me the details about the scene. He even signed that he was the one who welcomed me at the scene of crime.
Akusilona ke iqiniso ukuthi mangihlangana naye ke sahlangana ke esangweni wasengikhombisa uCaptain Zwane ngoba uyena ke umuntu engahlangana naye kwabe uyena ke umuntu ongitshela kabanzi ke futhi ke ne report yami ke ye crime scene uyena umuntu wayisign.
Was there Captain Zwane at the crime scene?
Ona le teng Captain Zwane mo sebakeng sa ketsahalo?
le ha ke sa mo hlokomela empa ke mo tsebile ka lebitso ha task team se e na le nna.
Okay. I may not have paid attention at that time, but I only got to learn about him after the arrival of the task team.
You started knowing who?
My lord,
You started knowing who?
Captain Zwane.
Kusengenzeka ke ukuthi angizange ngimqapheleke nkathi ngifika ke kodwa yena ke ngizokwazi ke kabanzi noma ngizomazi ke ngenkathi I-task team isikanye nami.
So in short, Captain Zwane was there at the crime scene.
Ho bolela hore Captain Zwane o na ntse a le teng sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
Ke kgolwa jwalo morena.
I believe he was.
Kholwa ukuthi yebo wayekhona ke khona lapho uCaptain Zwane.
Let's go back. When did you learn his name? Captain Zwane?
Wena o tsebile neneng hore motho o ke Captain Zwane?
Ke tsebile ha task team e fihla when task team e amohetswe ke yena.
I only got to learn that he's Captain Zwane upon arrival of the task team because he's the one who welcomed the task team.
Ngizomazi ke ngoCaptain Zwane noma ngazile ngoCaptain Zwane nkathi I-task team ifika ngoba uyena ke umuntu owayamukela.
When did the task team arrive at the crime scene?
Task team e fihlile nene sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
Ke tshepa hore task team ke yona e nang le record ya nako e ba fihlileng ka yona. Ha ke na bonnete ba nako e ba fihlileng ka yona.
I'm not certain about the time on which they arrive at the crime scene, but I believe the task team has the record of the time on which they arrived.
Khumbuleke ukuthi I-task team yafika ngasiphi isikhathi ngakholwa ukuthi bona ke banaso isikhathi la basibhale khona ukuthi bafika nini.
From your examination in chief, you attended the crime scene twice. Was it on your first visit at the crime scene or in your second visit at the crime scene?
Hopola ho ya ka bopaki ba hao o hlalositse hore o ile makgetlo a mabedi sebakeng sa ketsahalo. Jwale ba task team o kopane le bone kgetlong sa pele kapa kgetlong sa bobedi.
Task team e nthotse ho crime scene. Ha ke khutla ho ya etsa di crime scene tse pedi tse ke di thotseng ke ntse ke le crime scene nya kgetlo la pele.
Ka ska ka utlwa monghadi kopa o phethe. Task team you thotse
Task team e mfumane sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
kgetlo sa pele or kgetlo sa bobedi.
Ne ke se ke le ne ke se ke khutlile sebakeng sa ketsahalo ke khutla kgetlo la bobedi ha ba mfumana se ke le teng.
Oh yeah. The task team found me at the scene of crime after I had now come back for the second time now.
I-task team ke izongithola khona lapho nkathi sengibuyela okwesibili.
So that was at the time when you recovered the bullet on top of the cupboard.
Ke ka nako eo mo o ileng wa fumana hore hona le bullet ene e le hodima cupboard.
Ke nnete morena.
That is correct.
Uyiqiniseka ukuthi lokho kwenzeka ngalesikhathi sengizothola ke inhlamvu phezu kwekhabethe.
Okay. Was Brigadier Ndlovu also from the task team?
Brigadier Ndlovu ke o le ena o na le di member tsa task team.
Task team ke only forensic investigators members.
No, the task team is only composed of forensic members.
So what's the answer?
I-task team ke yona ke amalunga ke noma laba abasebenza lo msebenzi engwenzayo ke ama forensic.
So Brigadier Ndlovu is not part of the task team?
So Brigadier Ndlovu asi party ya ba task team.
Ho jwalo morena.
That is correct.
Uyiqiniseka ukuthi yena ke Brigadier Ndlovu engasiyona ke ilunga layo i-task team.
From which unit was Brigadier Ndlovu coming from?
Brigadier Ndlovu kwa unit A thing.
Brigadier Ndlovu o tswa a le Provincial Detective Office Gauteng.
Brigadier Ndlovu was coming from the provincial detective office in Kai,
Here in Gauteng.
here in Gauteng.
ubrigadier Ndlovu yena la ebuya khona ke ebuya kwihhovisi labaphenyi noma labaseshike la eGauteng.
So the task team and the provincial team were both from the from the head office. Am I correct?
The
Or
task
were they
team,
both from the police station, local police station?
the
Or
task team,
task team and provincial
okay.
team?
Task team, le provincial detective team. Na, bane ba tswa provincial, kapa bane ba tswa police station.
Chair, tseo nka se arabele hobaneng ke ne ke so fihle ka nako eo.
I cannot be in a position to answer that question because it happened before my arrival.
Angeke kuphenduleke ukuthi babesuka kuliphi ke ihhovisi provincial kanye ne task team ngoba ke ngangekafiki ngaleso sikhathi noma kwenzeke ngaphambi kokuthi ngifike.
But you were a member of the SAPS at that time.
Empa le wena o no le leloko la seponesa sa Afrika Borwa ka nako eo akere.
Ho jwalo morena.
Correct.
Okay.
Uyiqinisa ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi ngayilona iphoyisa.
So I'll repeat this
Can you
question.
repeat? You said the task team and the provincial detectives were from where?
Bane ba tswa kae?
Provincial office, ke tseba hore e ko Johannesburg Central. And the provincial detective office, a ke na bonnete, mara ke a e tseba empa ke sa tsebe suburb, next to Southgate Mall.
Ke task team.
Detective office is next to Southgate Mall.
And then
And
ba provincial detective.
provincial detective is in Joburg Central.
Okay. The provincial detectives are in Gauteng next to
Southgate Mall
Southgate Mall, and the task team
is from Johannesburg Central.
is from Johannesburg Central.
Okwenzekayo ke ukuthi babebuya kuphi abanye bekuphi abaseshike ba provincial detectives bona ke babuya kuseduzane nase Southgate Mall kodwa I task team yona ke ise imaphakathi nedolobha eJohannesburg.
Okay. No, actually, I was not looking for their addresses. I'm looking for the seniority of these teams that are at the crime scene. There is task team, there is provincial detective team. Between the two teams, how is their seniority? Since the seniority of these two teams.
Hutlile mafapha a mabedi mona ke provincial detective le task team. Jwale ho ya ka maemo a bona a mosebetsi ke ba feng ba okametseng ba feng kapa ba ka hodimo ha ba feng.
Ke bona hore ke makala a mabedi a lekanang.
According to me, they are both equal.
Equal.
Ngokusho kwami ke uma ngabubuza ukuthi abaphi ke abangaphezulu kwabanye ke phakathi kwama detectives kanye ne task team ngokubona kwami ke bayalingana.
And from the photo album that you took, if I'm not mistaken, Melody's Exhibit A, wherein you said you were assisted by Brigadier Ndlovu. Am I correct?
Di tshwantshong tseo di nkileng tse amohetsweng jwalo ka bopaki ba A o re o ile wa thuswa ke Brigadier Ndlovu. Ho jwalo?
Ho jwalo Brigadier Ndlovu o nthusa ka ho ntsibisa se etsahetseng.
Yes, but his part was just to inform me about what transpired.
Okuka Brigadier Ndlovu lapho kwakungitshela ke ukuthi kwenzekani.
And in that exhibit, did you refer to him as the person who was pointing out the giving points to you or who assisted you in pointing out the crime scene?
Wena he reportong ya hao na o mongotse jwalo ka motho a neng a thusana le wena ka hore a o supise dibaka tsa ketsahalo a o thuse sebakeng seo sa ketsahalo.
O jwalo Morena.
That's correct.
Uqiniseka ukuthi nalana ke kumbiko wami noma ku report yami ke ngishilo ukuthi uyena ke umuntu owayengikhombisa noma ngitshela ukuthi kwenzekani.
And the same person has deposed into this statement and says the following. Listen to this. I did not point any scene or exhibits to him as I was not in charge of the scene.
Yena he statement sa hae are ha ke aka ka mo bontsha mo bopaki aka bo bokelletsang teng hobane sebaka sa ketsahalo ine se nna ke se tshwereng.
Loyo muntu okhuluma ngaye ke uyena ke la oshoyo ke ku statement sakhe noma ubhalile ukuthi angizange ngimkhombise lutho khona lapho noma ubufakazi ngoba kwakungasimina umuntu owayephethe lapho ke kwindawo yesehlakalo.
O ikarabela ka
Ke nahana hore phoso e teng nna nka ikarabella ka hore o laba a signa scene report ya ka ho bontsha hore ke fumane yena and then ka sebetsa ntho tsohle tse ne ke di etsa crime scene ona a shebile.
Okay. I think there is a mistake that happened there because in my
Scene report.
in my scene report, he is the one who even signed to confirm that he was with me at the scene of crime and he was the one who was assisting and pointing out to me some of the things that were at the scene of crime.
Ngicabanga ukuthi likhona ke lapho iphutha ngoba ke kumbiko wami wendawo yesehlakalo noma kulokho kwenzeka lapho uyena ke umuntu wasayinda lokho ke kuyisiqinisekiso sokuthi ke uyena ke umuntu owayengikhombisa lapho futhi ke engitshela engikhombisa futhi nezinto ke ezatholakala nobufakazi obatholakala khona lapho.
Can you show us where he signed to say I am the one?
O ka re bontsha ma tekenneng teng ho bontsha hore ke yena.
Can I see?
Oh, sorry, my lord. My apologies. Sergeant Musia, where is the signature? Where does it say that I, as Brigadier Ndlovu, have given instructions and points to Sergeant Musia here in this document? Where is it? Paragraph.
Are ho ya ka tokomane e o mo bontshitseng ho yona ke ho kae mo ho ngotsweng teng mo eleng hore yena Brigadier Ndlovu una a ngola a itlama a re ke nna a supisitseng ntate Musia sebaka sa ketsahalo ka ba ka mo jwetsa ka tse ke di fihlelletseng sebakeng sa ketsahalo ke kae mo a ngotseng jwalo
Ntle le signature mongolo o ke le bontshang ona ka hara lekgotla ke bopaki ba hore ke yena ang amohetse mo crime scene and ka sebetsa e le yena a nshebileng ha ke etsa tsohle ka crime scene.
Without reverting to the statement, I am trying to show you that in that document, it is his own handwriting where it confirms that he's the one who welcomed me at the scene and gave me the information about the scene of crime.
Ngaphandleni kokuthi ngibuyele kusona ke istatement leso la bengikhombisa khona ke la ngithi khona ke lo ambhalo engithi owakhe la ukhombisa noma utshengisa khona ukuthi uyena owangamukela futhi ke bhala futhi nokuthi uyena ke ebekhona ngenkathi ngenza umsebenzi.
My Lord, can I ask that a copy of this document, that you make a copy of this document?
Okay.
So, yes.
My Lord is asking for.
There's a hand from the witness.
Mrenaka, scene report eo, e belonga ho nna inside my docket. A ke kgole hore hona le bohlokwa ba hore defense e be le scene report ya ka. Ke nna ke referang ho yona, then affidavit e hlalositse tsohle.
My Lord, the scene report belongs to me because it contains all the things that I noted down at the scene of crime. The affidavit contains everything that is in the scene of crime report.
Bengizothi lo yambiko ke umbiko okuwami ke futhi uhlala la efileni yami ke kodwa ke ikhona ke incwadi efungelo noma statement esifungelo lokuthiwa i-affidavit yona ke ichaza konke khona lokho okulapha yana.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that means that when cross-examination is done with, it will have to be returned to you. But the reason why you are there is interest in it is because you referred to it in answering to a question. That is why the advocate is now interested. We hope she won't cling to it even after cross-examining you.
Le khotla le re le ya utlwisisa empa ka hobane o ile wa hlahisa yona scene report ya hao ho araba potso e o no e botswa ke leqwetha ke ka ho leqwetha le nang le khahleho jwale ka sengotsweng ka hare ho scene report e empa o tla boela a ikgutlisetsa ho wena ya utlwahala monghadi
Ho utlwahala morena, empa ha ntlentle ka mokgo ke tsebang ka teng docket e scene report e dula mo docketeng ntho e nngwe le e nngwe e tswang mo ho scene report e tlo tholahala ho affidavit and ntho ne ke batla ho le bontsha yona ka court e nngwe ke proof ya hore Brigadier Ndlovu o bile le letsoho a ngola mo scene reporting fela ene ne ke kopa e khutlele ka hone.
I do understand. I have not yet interpreted. I do understand, my Lord, but that scene report, it is meant to be in my docket because everything that is contained in that scene report is in the form of affidavit that were furnished to the councils. The only point that I needed to make is just to show that Brigadier Ndlovu welcomed me at the scene and appended his signature there.
Engikushoyo ke ukuthi lo yambiko kufanele ukuthi ngendlela engazi ngayo ke noma esebenza ngakhona ke uhlale khona lana ke wona ke owami yonke into ekhona lapha yana ikhona ke kwi affidavit okwami nje bekungifisa nje ukuthi ngikhombise ukuthi ke ngempela uBrigadier Ndlovu yena ke owangamukela wabe esebhala khona lapha.
Sergeant Musia, in this document that we have just referred to this court as proof that instructions and points were pointed out or were given by Brigadier Ndlovu, there is nowhere wherein he signs for that or wherein he says, I, Brigadier Ndlovu, assisted or worked with Sergeant Musia on this day. On this page, I'm not talking about the full content of this document. On the page that you have referred to us.
Are o shebile leqephe le leng fela le leng hore wena o no o ba bontsha lona Ele ha o hlalosa hore Brigadier Ndlovu ke yena a o amohetseng sebakeng sa ketsahalo a ba a o hlalosetsa ka sebaka sa ketsahalo a re yena ha sheba hona leqepheng le o ba bontshang lona ha hona mo ho bonahalang a itlama Brigadier Ndlovu a re nna ke ile ka amohela ntate Mosia sebakeng sa ketsahalo ka ba ka mo thusa ka dintlha tse itseng tsa sebaka sa ketsahalo. Ya utlwahala jwale
ya utlwahala morena ke nahana hore yona scene report ka bo yona ha ena sebaka sa ho signa se teng ke the particulars and the addresses tsa requester or motho ke mothotseng mo crime scene.
Okay. The scene report doesn't have a place where the person can append the signature, nor write some of the things except the part where they must write their details and their addresses to show that they are the ones that welcomed me at the scene of crime.
Okukhona lapho ukuthi nje ayikho indawo la khona ke assign khona ke kuphela nje ukuthi ila anikeza khona ngemininingwane yakhe ke asechaza futhi ke neaddress yakhe ukhombisa ke ukutshengisa ukuthi uyena umuntu engafikela kuyena khona lapho.
Okay, for the sake of progress, my lord, I will ask to make a copy of this and submit it later. Don't want to disturb the court. But from Mr. Mosia on this document, do you agree with me that there is no signature for Brigadier Ndlovu confirming that he was working with you here?
Wa dumela hore qepheng leo ba bontshitseng lona le ha hona mo Brigadier Ndlovu a tekenneng teng a ba a itlama hore nna ke ne ke thusana le monghadi Mosia sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
Ke a dumela morena ka ha ke se ke hlalositse ha hona sebaka seo mo a tlameileng ho signa teng ke mo ngola mabitso a hae ka botlalo le di address fela ke tshepa hore se ke hlalositse.
I do agree.
Oh, sorry.
I do agree, but as I've already testified that there is no place where one can sign except to only write their personal details and their addresses to show that they were the ones who welcomed me at the scene of crime.
In whose hand is the scene report filled? The form for the scene report, in whose hand is it filled?
Scene report ke mangola mo.
Scene report e ngolwa ke nna empa sebakeng sa requester ho tlatsa requester ka handwriting ya hae.
I am the one responsible to fill in the scene report, my lord, but at the place where the requester, there is a place for the requester to also write their personal details and the addresses to show that they were the one who requested me at the scene of crime.
Ukubhalwa ke kwawo umbiko loyana ubhalwa yimina kodwa kukhona ke la kunendawo khona ke bathi request noma lona omcelileke ila khona ke azofake yakhe imininingwane.
Yes.
And there is nowhere in that document where in Brigadier Ndlovu wrote any information.
I beg the
In this document, the document that you have just submitted to the court, there is nowhere in that document wherein Mr. Brigadier Ndlovu made entries with his own handwriting.
ha hona mo ntate Brigadier Ndlovu a ngotseng ka letsoho la hae mo scene reportong e.
Ke tsamaisitse scene report ke bontsha lekgotla mo a ne a ngola teng.
Okay. When I gave the scene report circulating it to the council and the court, that's where I was showing you that it is the handwriting of Brigadier Ndlovu.
Ngenkathi ke ngidlulisa wona lo mbiko lona ilabe nginitshengisa khona ke la abhale khona noma abhala khona uBrigadier Ndlovu.
And we do not have proof that that handwriting belongs to Brigadier Ndlovu.
Ha re na le
It's your
bonnete-
word.
ha re na bonnete ba hore ke Brigadier Ndlovu a ngotseng mo re utlwa ka wena.
Bonnete ba seo kore bonnete ba seo ke personal number ya hae a e ngotseng mo scene reporting. Hona le personal number.
The personal number can be the one that can be checked to corroborate that it is his own handwriting.
Ubufakazi ke obukhona noma engasho engabusho ke ukuthi i-personal number yakhe ikhona ke lapha ibhaliwe.
Okay. Let's move on with the statement on paragraph 4 now. The second line from where we've ended, I did not also tell him to go to the hospital.
Hona le mo a reng ha ke a ka ke a mo jwetsa nna hore a ye sepetlele.
As when I called him, I was already at the scene.
Hobane ka nako e nna ke ne ke mo founela ka yona ke ne ke sentse ke le sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
Did you hear that?
O utlwile seo?
Ke utlwile morenaka.
Yes, I heard that.
Ngikuzwile ke noma ngiyakuzwa ke lokho okubhalwe la athi khona ke angizange ngimtshele ukuthi aye esibhedlele nanjengoba ngenkathi ngamushayela ngayo ucingo ngangivele sengikwindawo leyo yesehlakalo.
What do you say to that?
Check hana na le seo morenaka.
I disagree with that.
Ngiyaphikisana ke nalokho.
Why?
Hobane o hanetsana le sona.
Hobane ke se ke buile ka mokgo ke thotseng mohala ka teng le tsela ya ka ya ho ya sebakeng sa ketsahalo se ke beile ka hara lekgotla.
Because I've already testified the manner on which I received the call and how I ended up at the scene of crime.
Imbangela ke ukuthi ngithi ngiyaphikisana ke nalokho bese ngitshelile ke ngaphambilini inkantolo ngathi ngithola ke ucingo nokuthi ngahamba ngayofika la kanjani ke khona lapha.
Before you testified in this court, were you aware of this statement?
How or which?
This statement
Okay,
for the one that you are busy with.
How no kala ka o fana ka bopaki ba hao pela lekgotla? O ne o tseba ka statement se se ngotsweng ke Brigadier Ndlovu?
Check ne ke sa tsebe.
No, I was not aware of it.
Ngaphambilini kokuthi kunikeze ubufakazi ngangazi lutho ke noma bengazi lutho ngalesi statement sika Brigadier Ndlovu.
And further, you, in your examination in chief, also mentioned that at some stage you handed over the crime scene to Brigadier Ndlovu. Am I correct?
O a hopola ho bopaki ba hao hona le mo ileng wa hlalosa hore hona le nako mo ileng hore o ile wa khutlisetsa sebaka sa ketsahalo ho yena Brigadier Ndlovu.
O jalo morenaka.
That is correct.
And Brigadier Ndlovu,
Ngiyakhumbula futhi ngisho ke nabufakazi bami ukuthi ke ngakhona ke inkathi la ngandlulisela khona ke kuyena isini.
and Brigadier Ndlovu denies any involvement with you at the crime scene.
Brigadier Ndlovu yena o khapela ka thoko o hanana le taba ya hore ha a soka a bana le tshebedisano le wena sebakeng sa ketsahalo.
Ai ho a makatsa morenaka. A kutlwisise hore jwang.
It is surprising to me. I also don't understand why.
Kuyangimangaza ke nami angazi ukuthi kanjani ke ukuthi ke aphike ke la kule statement ukuthi ke wayesebenza nami noma ke ephika nje konke kumhlanganisa nami khona lapha yangalelo langa.
And so in the absence of confirmation from Brigadier Ndlovu of what we have testified about him before this court, it means your evidence remains uncorroborated in relation to the involvement of Brigadier Ndlovu.
Ho bolela hore ho bopaki ba hao tsohle tseo di buileng ka Brigadier Ndlovu le ka tsela ya sebedisaneng le wena ka yona sebakeng sa ketsahalo. E tla dula e le mabare fela hobane ha hona motho a totobatsang seo. Tsohle tseo so fane ka bopaki ka tsona tse amanang le Brigadier Ndlovu hore o sebedisaneng le wena jwang sebakeng sa ketsahalo. Se tla dula se re sia ka question mark hobane ha hona motho a se netefatsang a se totobatsang hore se etsahetse.
It is interesting that it is the very basis upon which the state was objecting.
Can I just
So-
rephrase, my lord?
Yeah, I think you should rephrase that one. It becomes unfair to this.
Thank you, my lord. You further testified in your examination in chief that you left the crime scene because there is no one who was giving you instructions.
Wa hopola bopaking ba hao ore o ile wa sia sebaka sa ketsahalo hobane o fumana hore ha hona motho a neng a o fa information ka tse etsahalang mo.
Ki taba e ntjha eo ho nna.
No, that is news to me.
You can remind
Kusho ke
us.
lokhu okushoyo kumina ke ukuthi ngahamba lapho ngoba kwangena umuntu ke onginikeza ama instructions.
You can remind us what was the reason for you to leave the crime scene after the first time visit?
Re hopotse he lebaka la hore kgetlo la pele ha o fihla sebakeng sa ketsahalo ebe wa sia sebaka sa ketsahalo wa tsamaya ine le hobane
Ke hlalositse ha ne ke fana ka evidence hore lebaka le entseng hore ke tsamaye sebakeng sa ketsahalo ke ne ke le standby di station tse 4 ke zonke izizwe Vosloorus Don Park and
Amabele monghadi.
a ke a mentiona le Rege Park kgetlo la pele and ke ile ka fumana mosebetsi o la tsala hore ke
etelele
tsamaya.
haholo monghadi
Oh, ke bua ka bokgutshwane le.
a se believe
Okay. Lebaka le ntseng hore ke tsamaye ke tsahalong. Ke se ke hlalosi ke la ka hlalosa ane ke fana ka bopaki. Hore ke tsamaile hobane ke ne ke le standby for station tse 4.
a re khutlise mo when I was giving my testimony, I gave evidence that on the reason for me to leave the scene of crime on the first occasion, it was because I was on standby and taking care of 4 stations.
Bengishilo ke ngaphambilini imbangela noma isizathu ke sokuthi ngihambe ukuthi ngangike standby ngaleli langa indawo eziwu4.
And to whom did you leave the crime scene?
Ha?
Before that, you said it's Rega Park.
Detention tse 4 tse o le standby ho tsona di bitse.
Zonke izizwe,
The first station is Zonki Zizwe.
Vosloorus,
The second one is Vosloorus.
Don Park,
The third one is Don Park.
ya ho qetela ke Rege Park.
The last one is Reichet Park.
Indawo ke lezi ingangike standby kuzona izonke izizwe iFoslo, iDon Park neRege Park.
When you left, to whom did you hand over the crime scene to?
Jwale
Just remind us.
ha o tloha sebakeng sa ketsahalo kgetlo sa pele o sile mang a hlokometse sebaka se.
Ke sile yena brigadier Ndlovu le maponesa a neng a le teng mo crime scene.
I left Brigadier Ndlovu together with other police officials who were at the scene of crime.
Ngashiya yena ke uBrigadier Ndlovu kanye namanye amaphoyisa ayekhona lapho.
Yes.
My lord, can I just ask to pause here before finishing with the statement until tomorrow if we are adjourning now at 3? Then I'll continue with further cross-examination in the morning.
may you rise?
Baqhut-
Due to considerations of time, this matter is postponed. It's rolled over overnight to the 7th of September 2022. The accused shall be in custody.
Ngenxa yesikhathi ke bafisa sihlala lesifiswa kuze kube kusasa nizohlala ngaphakathi.
fihlela ka hosane monghadi Mosia o ntse o le ka tlase ho kano.
Asleep.
Come along, all rise.